Welcome to Global Health and Wellness Practitioners YouTube channel, where we're giving exposure and connecting great practitioners while educating and promoting comprehensive health and wellness globally. So, hello everybody. We're talking to Kelly Pietro today and about tapping into our intuition and tapping into specifically plants intuition or plants, how would you say, Kelly?
Plant consciousness.
Plant consciousness. So Kelly helps clients make mind-body connections so that trapped energy and emotions can be released. She uses the plant energies to help clients raise their vibration as their body heals. So like what people need. She's able to tap into intuitively to know what plants that we need to raise our vibration in which areas. So welcome, Kelly.
Thanks for having me, Steph.
I'm glad you're here. And if you would like to start with your story.
Sure. So how I became an herbalist and an energy worker, it's interesting because I think that, some people might think, oh, those are two different things, but my journey was such that I was kind of walking towards both at the same time, not realizing that those two paths might converge in the future. I think I can look back in childhood and see where I may have been a little bit more intuitive or more connected to plants, but really, it they the real interest started, later on in my life. I'm 42 now, and this probably started when I was 38. So really, a lot later in my life, did I become really interested in plants and what they, the realization that this beautiful Mother Earth that we have provides everything that we need. And so really diving into that concept and from a food standpoint and really, kind of advocating for local organic farmers. And then that took me into, well, wait a second, if I'm taking in these foods, ingesting, pure foods, what about that, which I put on my skin and use on a day-to-day basis. And I started to discover that plants were always at the root of that, if I worked with plants, I could, create products for myself and my family. And so I remember one day when I realized that, that's a thing, and it's called herbalism, to study plants and understand their virtues and begin to work with them in different ways and fold them into your life. And then simultaneously, I seem to be kind of spiritually speaking, becoming really curious about intuition and kind of asking some of the bigger questions in life, what's the meaning of life and all of that. So kind of walking those two paths at the same time. And it makes sense because, they kind of converged when I started going to herb school and realized that plants have a consciousness. And so while I learned to work with the plants physically, I was also beginning to connect with them, in this other realm in through consciousness. And as soon as I stepped into that, knowing that plants had something more to offer than just their physical virtues, and exploring the realm of consciousness simultaneously, as soon as I stepped into that, the plants began speaking to me in ways that I just never could have fathomed were even possible. So, exploring herbal medicine as a path, as well as consciousness, kind of led me on this path to where I am today, where all of my sessions with my clients include both energy work and herbal support. So whether that's calling in herbal energies or, handing a tincture to a client at the end of a session to go home and work with, I tend to work with plants on a really holistic level. So, and when I say holistic, I mean of the plant, it's the people and the plant. So being able to see the deeper root of what people are going through, you know, not just, oh, my knee's been bothering me for 2 years, but like, wow, there's, you know, there's a lot of fear as it pertains to relationships with males going on. Let's explore that. And then let's call in the plants to help support and release that energy, and let the body begin healing itself. So yeah, it really was kind of this really interesting parallel path that converged. And I just love the way I continue to learn and work with the plants, because they are, you know, they're wise, wise elder healers that if we can tap into their consciousness, they have a lot to teach us. They've been on this planet longer than we have. So it's a beautiful, beautiful way to work with plants, is in that other realm, if you will.
And you told me about some stories about your experience with plants personally when you're outside.
Yeah, it's funny because, you know, you can connect with a plant in various different ways, but the way the plants have been working with me, and I suspect that they're working with so many people on this level, it's just a matter of kind of opening yourself up to observing and noticing and increasing your awareness of this. You know, the plants kind of just show up for me in different ways. And because I'm acutely aware of their existence and they're surrounding me in different ways, their messages come in a really profound way. So, you know, um, I had struggled one summer. I was really, really down in the dumps. And, you know, I know the plants in my backyard. I've lived here for probably 10 years or so. And out of nowhere, St. John's wort showed up one day. It just showed up in my yard. I didn't plant it there. I mean, it grows wild in this area, although I've not seen it in our neighborhood. And just one day, there's St. John's wort just showed up in my backyard, started growing out of nowhere. And if you look at the virtues of St. John's wort, the tincture has been used and capsules have been used to help support anyone's going through depression or, you know, kind of lower states energetically. It helps to calm the mind when, you know, if you've got a really overactive crown chakra and there's too much psychic force going on, it helps to calm and relieve that. It's just this beautiful bringer of light. And so that this plant just showed up in my backyard right when I needed it is kind of the most beautiful gift that a plant could give. And it really is evidence that, you know, nature is not outside of us. We are actually part of it. Our consciousness and plant consciousness, you know, there's this constant communication going on. And if we consciously choose to open ourselves up to that awareness, we can notice that right in our backyard, the very medicine that we need is growing and showing up for us as a response to its own environment, which includes us. So it's really just this beautiful dance that we're living in. And I feel grateful to be aware of it. And, you know, my mission is really to make others aware of it too, and have a deeper appreciation of, you know, the weeds that are growing in their backyard that could very well be showing up for them for a reason. So yeah, I really, I try to write about my experiences because I think that it opens people up to the different ways plants can speak to us and show up for us in our lives. And a lot of times, you know, that could be a picture on the internet. You know, if you're scrolling through your social media feed and the same plant is showing up for you over and over. Same with like with animal medicine, you know, if an eagle keeps showing up for you, these are things to pay attention to and start getting curious about and understanding why they're showing up for you. So yeah, I really like to try to introduce people to those concepts and how to tap into that level of consciousness where the plants exist.
I think it sounds like it like could make a walk outside more fun and interesting.
It really is, you know, when I walk through the woods now or go outside, I mean, it is such medicine for me to just, yeah, I almost don't even have to look anywhere. I just open up to all that beautiful medicine around me and receive. You know, and people might, this time of year where there's doesn't seem to be a lot of greenery it might feel boring to others. To me, it's so interesting to see what plants are thriving in the colder months. And as we approach spring, you know, the excitement builds. You can see, you know, all these plants starting to pop up, and you'll see I get really excited too about sharing all the different plant stories and who's showing up, and all the medicine that's coming out, especially in spring. You know, our digestion has really been sluggish over the winter. We're eating a lot of comfort foods, and all these beautiful bitter herbs just start sprouting up that are really helpful in moving digestion along. So, you know, this is a really great time to get excited about herbs.
What's coming to me is like that's what our drugs and our pharmaceutical industry is made from plants. So
Yeah, that's where it started, you know. They were our original medicine and still are to this day. If people choose that, certainly, you know, we've made a lot of advancements in our pharmacology, but it is a beautiful way to receive healing, is straight from the earth. We are of the earth, and so it makes sense to receive it from the earth. And yes, you know, a lot of our pharmaceuticals began with plants. You know, what kind of happens is they find, you know, like willow, they find that there is one chemical constituent that they can isolate and then recreate it and call it aspirin. But you know, these plants have more than just one constituent, and when you work with the entire plant, there's this synergy that happens in the body. There's this, the plants have this intelligence that works in the body to help balance and create this more harmonious experience. Whereas if you were to isolate a single component, you might, you know, you might see more side effects because the other constituents that were left out might have been what counteracted those side effects. So yeah, it's interesting to look back at history and see kind of how far we've come, but also where we might have missed the mark. So.
how could you tell some people how to heighten their intuition?
So I think when you connect with plants on this level, it is the most foundational and beautiful and easy way to start to work with your intuition. So I like to teach people, I mean, this time of year, if you can't get your hands on a live plant or go outside and sit with, even, you know, if a plant doesn't have leaves, it's still living. Or if you know its roots are underground, to go out and sit with the plant. And even if you're inside and you don't want to go outside, you can call in a plant energetically, just like we did, you know, before we started this video. You can call in a plant that you want to work with or that has been coming into your awareness, and you say, oh my gosh, this plant keeps coming up for me. Calendula, you know, let me sit with this plant, and it has a message for me. I just haven't taken the time to understand it. And so you can call in calendula and just sit with the intention to connect with a plant. And when you do, you just kind of sit in quiet meditation, but with this awareness within your body. So, you know, each of our different clairs, if you will, can be associated with a different chakra. So clairsentience is clear feeling, so feeling sensations in your body. That's associated with the solar plexus. I don't know if this is technically a clair, but clair empathy, being empathic, is associated with the heart chakra. So that's feeling emotion, like a well of emotion. Clairaudience is associated with the throat chakra. So that's clear hearing. And then clairvoyance connected to the third eye chakra, and claircognizance connected with the crown chakra. So if you sit with a plant, for example, and you ask, you know, first of all, if you're approaching a plant in person, I always like to treat it like it's a person. You know, can I enter your field? Can we commune? I'd love to receive a message. And tradition is to give an offering of some sort in reciprocity. You think about in ancient cultures when someone was going to meet a medicine person of their tribe, they would bring an offering on this land. That offering might have been tobacco. So, if you're coming to a plant as a master healer and asking for a message, asking for its medicine, you might give an offering. And this establishes this reciprocity, this gratitude. And then it's sitting quietly and just being open and receiving to hearing or feeling or sensing a message. I like to envision that I have roots growing from me, connecting down into the roots of the plant. I like to envision kind of our crown chakras connecting. You could almost connect at each chakra to the plant, and then be open to receiving. And when you're open to receiving and you just start to notice, you're going to notice, do I feel anything in the way of emotion? Is any emotion welling up in me? And you can write that down. Do I feel any sensation in my body? You can write that down. Does a picture or a color come into my awareness, into my imagination? Write that down. Am I hearing a word, sometimes a song? These are all the different clairs that we talked about, right? So you're really paying attention to these sensations in the body. And there's a story in that, right? So whatever comes up for you is the plant providing a story. And depending on what your intention is with the plant, is it, do you have a message for me? Is it, what is your medicine? Whatever you come to that meditation with, those things that you sense will begin to answer that question for you. And really, what's really interesting is when I do this in workshops and I give a group of people the same plant, they'll often have different messages come to them. I'll have them study the morphology of the plant, the color, the shape, understanding, where it grows. Does it grow in the shade? Does it grow in the sun? This is what we call the doctrine of signatures, studying the morphology of the plant. And there's a story in that. So even if you can't drop into that meditative state, if you just study the plant, you see it climbing, on other plants to grow. To me, that's resourcefulness. So there's an energy of resourcefulness with that plant. Perhaps it has bright yellow, shining petals, and perhaps that speaks to the solar plexus. So really, it's making these kinds of connections when you sit with the plant. And if you can't quite yet, make those psychic connections, it's making the physical connections. And oftentimes when you start with the physical and you study the physical aspects of the plant, that kind of kickstarts some of the intuitive stuff. And it's just about being open and aware. And the beautiful thing with plants is that you can't get it wrong. It's going to have a message for you. So it really helps to build confidence when you're looking to hone in your intuition, I think.
It's not supposed to be the same message for everybody.
Yeah. Oftentimes there'll be this common thread that weaves, this fractal pattern that you can see in everyone's story, which is always interesting. But just like people, I'm an herbalist, I'm an energy worker, I'm a mom, I'm a volunteer, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I have all these things to offer. Same with plants. It's, we're starting to move away from allopathic herbalism that says, this plant is good for this. I get a lot of questions like, hey, got any herbs for anxiety? It's like, yeah, I got 100 of them, tell me about you, because I'm going to match the plant and the person. I'm going to look at the person's constitution. I might even look at their astrological chart to understand, what energies are at play for this person and match them to a plant that complements what they're needing right now. Because every plant will have multiple offerings, just like a person does.